Alaska can expose the weakness in almost any hunting cartridge. A rifle that feels perfect on a sheep mountain may feel badly underpowered when the same trip moves into wet alder cover. A cartridge that inspires confidence around a brown bear may become exhausting after a full day of climbing, and the recoil that looks manageable on paper can destroy accuracy when the shot finally matters. That is why this ranking is not a contest for the fastest cartridge, the biggest bullet, or the most muzzle energy. We are looking for the most complete one-rifle answer. Each contender has to balance practical reach, dependable penetration with the right hunting bullet, recoil that a trained shooter can control, rifle weight, and the chance of finding replacement ammunition when travel plans go wrong. The ranking also uses representative factory loads, because a ballistic coefficient belongs to a specific bullet, not to an entire cartridge. Change the bullet, the barrel, the atmosphere, or the zero, and the numbers change with it. 8 famous cartridges enter this list. Some are brilliant specialists, some are logistical nightmares, and the winner is not the biggest cartridge here. It is the one that compromises in the places Alaska punishes least. At number 8 is the .375 H&H Magnum, and its last place position needs an immediate explanation. This is not the weakest cartridge in the ranking. It is the most specialized. Introduced in 1912, the .375 H&H earned its reputation on large and dangerous game long before modern rangefinders, bonded bullets, or laser-cut scope turrets existed. It throws a wide, heavy projectile with excellent sectional density and a large frontal area. In one current federal 300-grain soft point load, published muzzle velocity is 2,530 feet per second, with a G1 ballistic coefficient of 0.323. That combination produces more than 4,200 foot-pounds at the muzzle. A 300-grain, .375 caliber bullet also has a sectional density of roughly 0.305. Those are serious numbers for deep penetration when the bullet construction matches the animal and the impact conditions. For a dedicated brown bear hunt in heavy cover, that authority is exactly the point. A well-built .375 can drive a premium expanding bullet through heavy tissue and bone from unfavorable angles. It offers a margin that lighter cartridges simply cannot duplicate. For a professional guide who may carry a rifle more often than fire it, but may need decisive close-range performance when something has already gone wrong, the .375 H&H remains one of the clearest specialist choices in the world. But this ranking asks for one rifle across Alaska, and that changes the verdict. Rifles chambered for the cartridge are often built around long actions and reinforced stocks. Add a durable optic, sling, and ammunition, and the complete package can become heavy on steep ground. Try to reduce that weight aggressively, and the recoil becomes sharper. Either way, the hunter pays, in the legs while carrying it, in the shoulder while practicing, or in both. Its external ballistics are also load-dependent. A modern 270-grain bullet can stretch the useful envelope, but the classic 300-grain soft points do not behave like sleek, high ballistic coefficient mountain bullets. Wind calls become less forgiving. Trajectory becomes more demanding as distance grows, and the hunter still has to train enough to place that heavy bullet correctly. Diameter never cancels a poor hit. So number 8 is not an insult. It is a job description. If the mission is a dedicated coastal bear hunt, or if a guide needs maximum close-range authority, the .375 H&H can move straight to the top. But for a mixed Alaska trip involving long climbs, open country shots, and regular practice, its greatest strength becomes a burden for most hunters. It is the best specialist in this list, and the least balanced generalist. Number 7 is the 7mm Remington Magnum. a cartridge that seems built for Alaska whenever the landscape opens up. Since its introduction in 1962, the 7 Remington Magnum has represented the classic combination of useful speed and aerodynamic bullets. It can launch a 160-grain Nosler partition at a published 2,950 feet per second in one current federal load. That specific bullet carries a G1 ballistic coefficient of 0.475 and a sectional density of roughly 0.283. The cartridge therefore offers a flatter path and less wind drift than many traditional hunting loads, while the partition construction gives it a long record on large game. On a Dall sheep or caribou hunt, those qualities are difficult to dismiss. Mountain weather rarely gives the shooter a perfectly still firing lane. A bullet that retains velocity efficiently reduces, but never eliminates, the consequences of a small wind estimation error. Rifles chambered in 7 Remington Magnum can also remain light enough for hard climbing without becoming as punishing as the larger Magnums. For a hunter whose trip is overwhelmingly about sheep, goat, deer, or caribou, this cartridge may be one of the smartest tools on the entire list. Its position falls when the mission expands. 7mm bullets can have excellent sectional density, and premium 160 to 175 grain designs are fully capable of deep penetration. But a capable hunting cartridge is not the same thing as the best all-around answer around very large bears. Bullet construction, impact velocity, presentation, and shot placement remain decisive. When the trip includes deliberate hunting in serious brown bear country, many hunters and guides prefer a larger bullet with more frontal area and a wider reserve of momentum. That preference is not proof that the 7 is ineffective. It is recognition that Alaska does not grade only the perfect broadside shot. A general-purpose rifle may have to work after rain, from an awkward position, at an animal that refuses to stand exactly as expected. The more the cartridge is optimized around sleekness and manageable recoil, the less psychological and physical margin it offers, compared with the larger 30s and 375s. Ammunition availability is generally good in the United States, and that keeps the 7 Remington Magnum from being a fragile choice. Yet it still carries a Magnum penalty in recoil, blast, and barrel length. In the broadest Alaska test, it lands between categories, more efficient at distance than the 375, but less authoritative than the larger cartridges at close range. Number 7 is therefore the Alpine Specialist. Choose it for sheep, caribou, and open country hunting with a carefully selected controlled expansion bullet, and it can be exceptional. Ask it to be the single answer for every Alaska scenario, and its elegant balance starts to feel narrower than it first appeared. At number 6 is the .325 Winchester Short Magnum, perhaps the most technically interesting cartridge in this ranking. Despite the name, it uses a .323-inch bullet, the diameter commonly associated with 8mm projectiles. That matters because the cartridge can combine substantial bullet weight with a shorter action than the old 375 H&H. Winchester currently lists a 220-grain PowerPoint load at 2,840 feet per second. The published G1 ballistic coefficient is 0.388, and muzzle energy is 3,941 foot-pounds. Sectional density for that bullet is about 0.301, not 0.281. That is an important correction because it places the load firmly in deep penetration territory on paper. The appeal is obvious. The 325 delivers energy, approaching larger Magnum territory without requiring a full-length Magnum action. It offers more frontal area than the .30 caliber cartridges and far more downrange practicality than a traditional 375 load. With a robust bonded or partition-style bullet, it can make sense for moose, elk, and bear while still remaining useful in open country. In a rifle that fits the shooter, It may be the best mechanical bridge between mountain performance and heavy game authority in the entire field. It does not depend on extreme velocity, and it does not have to use an unusually light bullet to flatten the trajectory. Instead, it pushes a genuinely heavy projectile fast enough to be versatile. But cartridges do not live only in ballistic tables. They live in factories, warehouses, airports, small-town stores, and hunting camps. That is where the .325 loses the ranking. Rifle selection is limited compared with .30-06-7 Remington Magnum or .300 Winchester Magnum. Factory load variety is narrow, and shelf availability can be unpredictable. The fact that a manufacturer still lists a load does not mean every remote store carries it. If an airline misroutes a bag, if ammunition is damaged by water, or if a hunter simply arrives with the wrong box, replacement options may be extremely thin. That logistical weakness also affects practice. A hunter who cannot buy the preferred load consistently may hesitate to spend it during training. Changing to a different bullet can alter point of impact, trajectory, and terminal behavior. The cartridge may be powerful, but confidence comes from repetition. With the exact load, the rifle has been verified to shoot well. Number 6 is therefore the engineer's cartridge. Compact, powerful, and more versatile than its market position suggests. For an owner who already has a reliable rifle, a large supply of proven ammunition, and a backup travel plan, it can outperform this ranking. For the visiting hunter who wants a system that remains resilient when Alaska disrupts the plan, the ammunition ecosystem is too fragile. The cartridge succeeds in the chamber and loses on the shelf. Number 5 is the .270 Weatherby Magnum, a cartridge built around Roy Weatherby's belief that speed could make hunting trajectories simpler. The Weatherby case gives a .277-inch bullet, far more velocity than the older .270 Winchester. Current factory options vary, but representative 140 and 150 grain loads can start above 3,200 feet per second. Weatherby lists a 150 grain bullet with a G1 ballistic coefficient of .465. At that weight, sectional density is approximately .279. That figure matters because it corrects the idea that every .270 bullet has marginal sectional density. A 130 grain bullet is around .242. A 150 grain bullet is materially different. In open Alaska country, the cartridge can be spectacular. Its speed reduces drop at ordinary hunting distances and gives the hunter more retained velocity for bullet expansion farther from the muzzle. On sheep, caribou, deer, and mountain goat, a well-chosen premium bullet combines reach with a relatively slim frontal profile. The result is a cartridge that feels purpose-built for ridgelines, river flats, and tundra. But velocity creates its own engineering problem. A bullet that impacts at very high speed must be designed to control expansion at close range, yet it must still open when velocity has fallen at distance. A thin, jacketed design that looks dramatic in a ballistic table may expand too rapidly at close range on heavy bone. A tougher bonded or monolithic bullet may provide far better penetration, but it can behave differently at the low end of its impact velocity window. The cartridge name alone cannot solve that decision. The .270 Weatherby burns substantial powder through a relatively small bore, bringing sharper blast and a preference for longer barrels. Its premium ammunition is also less likely to appear in a small store than .270 Winchester, 30-06, or .300 Winchester Magnum. For a dedicated sheep or caribou hunt, the .270 Weatherby may deserve a much higher position. It offers a level of reach and visual drama that makes older cartridges feel slow. But the ranking demands more than speed. It asks for close-range bullet behavior, manageable practice, rifle practicality, and logistical resilience. Number 5 is a superb open country cartridge, that can take larger game with the correct bullet and disciplined shot selection. It falls because the extra velocity increases cost, blast, and bullet selection sensitivity without creating the same heavy game reserve as the larger .30s. It is the glamorous specialist in the middle of the list, fast enough to impress, capable enough to respect, but not broad enough to win. At number 4 is the .270 Winchester, the cartridge most closely associated with classic North American mountain hunting. Introduced in 1925, the .270 became famous because it offered useful speed without the full recoil and rifle weight of the larger Magnums. That advantage still matters. One current federal 150-grain fusion load is published at 2,850 feet per second with a G1 ballistic coefficient of 0.471. The same bullet weight gives a sectional density around 0.279. Modern bullet design therefore allows the old cartridge to reach well beyond the simplistic reputation of a light deer round. For sheep, caribou, deer, and mountain goat, the .270 Winchester remains one of the easiest cartridges here to recommend. Recoil is moderate enough that many hunters can practice frequently and maintain a clean trigger press from field positions. Rifles can be light, barrels do not need to be excessively long, and ammunition is widely distributed. That combination creates something no ballistic chart can measure directly: familiarity. Familiarity matters because the shot in Alaska is rarely taken from a perfect concrete bench. The shooter may be cold, breathing hard, leaning into wind, or working around wet vegetation. A cartridge that permits hundreds of confident practice rounds can outperform a more powerful round that causes hesitation. The .270's practical accuracy is often a product of shooter behavior as much as external ballistics. Its limitation is not that it suddenly stops working on large animals. Premium 150-grain bullets have taken elk, moose, and bears for decades. The limitation is margin. A .277-inch projectile offers less frontal area and generally less bullet weight than the .30 caliber and 8mm options. When a shot angle becomes poor, the animal is extremely large, or the hunter is intentionally pursuing brown bear. Many experienced hunters prefer more cartridge. That preference should not be rewritten as a legal rule. Alaska's official firearms guidance is not the same as a statute requiring 200 or 220-grain bullets in a .30-06. Hunters must check the current regulation for their species, unit, and hunt. Cartridge selection is an ethical and practical decision layered on top of those rules. At longer distances, the .270's performance depends heavily on the exact bullet. A basic soft point with a low ballistic coefficient and a modern tipped or bonded bullet do not share the same wind drift or retained velocity. Any trajectory used in the field must match the actual rifle, barrel, sight height, atmospheric conditions, and verified ammunition. Calling the cartridge flat shooting is not a substitute for that work. Number 4 is the confidence cartridge. It is affordable enough to train with, light enough to carry, and powerful enough for a broad range of Alaska game when paired with the right bullet. It ranks above the Weatherby because it sacrifices some speed in exchange for lower cost, lower blast, and much stronger availability. It stops short of the top 3 because the one rifle mission includes the largest animals and the worst angles, where a heavier projectile provides a more comfortable reserve. Number 3 is the .30TC, the most unusual placement in this entire ranking. The cartridge was designed to produce efficient .30 caliber performance from a compact case suitable for a short action. Hornady still lists a 150-grain SST Superformance load. From a 24-inch test barrel, the published muzzle velocity is 3,000 feet per second, and muzzle energy is just under 3,000 foot-pounds. With a 200-yard zero, Hornady's table lists the bullet at 1,966 feet per second and 1,287 foot-pounds at 500 yards, with 40.7 inches of drop. Those figures belong to that exact factory load and test setup. They are not universal values for every 30 TC rifle. The engineering appeal is real. The cartridge approaches classic 30-06 performance from a shorter case and can fit into a compact rifle. It uses common .308-inch bullets, so the projectile world offers a wide variety of aerodynamic and controlled expansion designs. In theory, heavier premium bullets could turn the platform into a compact, efficient hunting system for deer, caribou, black bear, and other medium to large game. That efficiency is why it reaches number 3 in the original scoring logic. It balances usable recoil, short-action handling, and serious .30 caliber performance without demanding a full Magnum case. For a hunter who owns a proven rifle and has already secured a large supply of the exact ammunition it prefers, the 30 TC can be genuinely rational. But it also exposes the difference between a cartridge and an ecosystem. Rifle support for the 30 TC is extremely limited. Factory ammunition variety is narrow, and finding it during travel may be difficult even in a large city, let alone in a remote Alaska community. The official listing of one load is evidence that a product exists. It is not evidence that the product is reliably stocked everywhere. The 150-grain SST load also should not be treated as a universal answer for the largest Alaska game. It is a specific bullet at a specific weight. A hunter considering moose or bear would need to evaluate the actual projectile construction, impact velocity window, and the rifle's point of impact with a more suitable load if one is available. Mixing the trajectory from one bullet with the terminal claims of another would create a fictional cartridge. This is where number 3 becomes controversial. The 30 TC scores highly as a design, but poorly as a travel system. Lose the ammunition, and there may be no substitute. Change loads and the zero may change. Run short during training, and the very efficiency that made the rifle appealing becomes irrelevant. So why is it above the 270s? Because the ranking gives value to a compact 30 caliber platform with more bullet mass and frontal area. But why is it below the final 2? Because the winners offer the same general mission with dramatically stronger rifle and ammunition support. Number 3 is the enthusiast's choice. It is elegant, efficient, and capable in the hands of an owner who plans around its scarcity. For a first Alaska rifle, or for a hunter who wants replacement ammunition to remain part of the safety net, it is too dependent on preparation. The 30 TC proves that a cartridge can win the engineering argument and still lose the ownership argument. At number 2 is the 30-06 Springfield, the baseline against which the winner must be judged. Adopted by the United States military in 1906 and introduced to generations of hunters afterward, the 30-06 has built a record that no new cartridge can manufacture through advertising. It works in lightweight mountain rifles, rugged wood-stocked classics, and modern weather-resistant designs. It can use bullets from the lighter end of the 30 caliber spectrum through heavy 200 and 220 grain hunting projectiles. More importantly, those loads exist across a deep commercial ecosystem. To keep the comparison honest, look at one exact bullet offered in both this cartridge and the winner. Federal lists its 180 grain trophy bonded tip in 30-06 at 2,700 feet per second, with a G1 ballistic coefficient of 0.500. The same bullet has the same ballistic coefficient and the same sectional density, regardless of which cartridge launches it. What changes is velocity. This 30-06 load produces roughly 2,900 foot-pounds at the muzzle, not 3,200. That correction matters because energy should be calculated from the published bullet weight and velocity, not borrowed from a different load. Alaska's official firearms guidance has long presented the .30-06 as a credible all-around choice and discusses 200 or 220 grain premium bullets for dedicated brown bear hunting. That is guidance, not a blanket legal approval tied to those exact weights. The current regulation for the animal, unit, and hunt still controls. Within that framework, the message is practical. Bullet construction and weight can change the cartridge's role substantially. With a premium 180 grain bullet, the .30-06 is a strong general big game cartridge. With a well-built heavier bullet, it offers additional penetration for moose and bear. With a lighter aerodynamic bullet, it can serve deer, sheep, and caribou. Recoil in a sensible hunting rifle is meaningful but usually more manageable than the .300 Winchester Magnum. Ammunition is widely available, and prices span from basic practice loads to premium controlled expansion designs. That availability improves shooter performance. A hunter can practice with an affordable load, then confirm the final zero and trajectory with the exact hunting load. Rifle selection is equally broad. Its limitation appears when the same bullet is asked to reach farther. The .30-06 launches it more slowly than the .300 Winchester Magnum. The difference does not change the ballistic coefficient, but it does create more drop, more wind exposure, and lower impact velocity at the same distance. Modern high ballistic coefficient bullets narrow the gap in efficiency. They do not erase the initial velocity difference when the projectile is held constant. The original draft claimed that the .300 Winchester Magnum improved every variable without a proportional recoil cost. That is not accurate. The Magnum produces more recoil, more blast, higher ammunition cost, and often prefers a longer barrel. The question is whether its downrange and heavy game advantages justify those penalties for this specific Alaska mission. The .30-06 nearly wins because it is the easiest complete system to live with. It is proven, flexible, widely supported, and trainable. For a recoil-sensitive hunter, or for most shots inside ordinary distances, it may be the better personal choice. It finishes second only because the final cartridge provides more velocity and energy with the same excellent .30 caliber bullets, creating a wider performance envelope for the hunter who can control it. Before number 1, decide which hunt actually defines your rifle. If your trip is mostly climbing for sheep or caribou, would you choose lower recoil and easier carry? Or would you accept a heavier rifle and harder practice for more reserve around moose and brown bear? Put your choice in the comments, because the correct personal answer may not match the winner of an all-around ranking. At number 1 is the .300 Winchester Magnum. It does not win because it is the most powerful cartridge here. The .375 H&H launches a wider and heavier bullet, while the .325 Winchester Short Magnum can deliver greater frontal area with serious energy. The .300 wins because it covers the widest part of Alaska's hunting spectrum without becoming a rare cartridge, a dedicated dangerous game tool, or an extreme velocity specialist. The cleanest comparison is again Federal's 180 grain trophy bonded tip. In .300 Winchester Magnum, the published muzzle velocity is 2,960 feet per second. The G1 ballistic coefficient remains .500 because it is the same bullet used in the .30-06 comparison. Muzzle energy is approximately 3,500 foot-pounds. That is about 260 feet per second, and roughly 600 foot-pounds more at the muzzle than the matching .30-06 load. This is what the Magnum actually buys. It does not magically improve the projectile's aerodynamics. It starts the same projectile faster, so the bullet arrives downrange sooner, with a flatter path and greater retained velocity. That can extend the distance over which a hunting bullet remains inside its intended expansion window. It can also provide more energy at impact. Neither benefit changes the need for an accurate range, a realistic wind call, a stable position, or disciplined shot selection. The 30 caliber bullet ecosystem is another major advantage. Hunters can choose bonded bullets, partition-style designs, monolithic copper bullets, and modern tipped projectiles across a wide range of weights. A 180 grain bullet has a sectional density of about .271. Move to a 200 grain 30 caliber bullet and sectional density rises to roughly .301. Those numbers describe the relationship between weight and diameter. They do not guarantee penetration. Construction and impact velocity determine whether the bullet holds together, expands correctly, and reaches the vital organs. For sheep and caribou in open country, a streamlined premium hunting bullet gives the cartridge reach without forcing the hunter into a niche rifle. For moose, heavier controlled expansion bullets add penetration and impact authority. For a mixed hunt that may involve brown bear country, the cartridge offers more reserve than the 270s, while remaining far more practical at distance than the 375 H&H. It also wins on logistics. 300 Winchester Magnum rifles are offered by many manufacturers in stainless, synthetic, and weather-resistant configurations. Factory ammunition is not cheap, but load variety and national distribution are much stronger than for 30 TC or 325 Winchester Short Magnum. If the chosen premium load cannot be found in a remote store, common chambering still does not guarantee an exact replacement. But it gives the hunter a far better recovery path than a rare cartridge does. Now for the cost, because the winner is not perfect. The 300 Winchester Magnum recoils more than the 30-06 when rifle weight and comparable bullets are held reasonably close. In a very light rifle, that recoil can become counterproductive. It can slow follow-up recovery, encourage flinching, and reduce the amount of useful practice a hunter completes. Muzzle blast is greater, ammunition is more expensive, and many loads achieve their advertised performance from 24 or 26-inch test barrels. A short, ultralight rifle may sacrifice velocity while making the shot less comfortable. That means the right platform is not necessarily the lightest platform. A balanced rifle with a good recoil pad, a stock that fits, dependable weather protection, and a consistent cheek position will usually be more useful than a featherweight rifle that is unpleasant to train with. The cartridge also cannot replace judgment. At close range, high impact velocity can stress a lightly constructed bullet. At long range, even a Magnum eventually falls below the velocity needed for reliable expansion. The correct hunting load must be verified in the actual rifle, and the hunter must know the distance at which both accuracy and terminal performance remain dependable. A number printed on an ammunition box is the beginning of that process, not the conclusion. So why does it still beat the 30-06? Because the 300 Winchester Magnum creates more performance headroom while preserving a strong commercial ecosystem. It can launch the same 180 grain premium bullet faster. It can handle heavy 200 grain designs with excellent sectional density. It remains familiar to rifle makers, ammunition companies, guides, and gunsmiths. And unlike the 375, it does not force the hunter to accept a dedicated close-range identity. The final decision comes down to shooter competence. If recoil prevents accurate practice, the 30-06 is the better rifle. If the hunt is dedicated to sheep and every ounce matters, the 7 Remington Magnum or 270 Winchester may be better. If the mission is a deliberate coastal bear hunt at close range, the 375 H&H deserves priority. But if one trained hunter wants one widely supported cartridge for the broadest mix of Alaska big game and terrain, the 300 Winchester Magnum offers the strongest overall balance. It is not the king of every individual hunt. It is the winner of the compromise. That is the complete ranking. The 375H, and H owns the specialist role. The 7 Remington Magnum, and both 270s shine in open country. The 325 and 30 TC prove that excellent engineering can be defeated by a weak ammunition ecosystem. The 30-06 remains the most forgiving all-around alternative, but for a trained shooter who can manage the extra recoil, the 300 Winchester Magnum combines reach, heavy bullet flexibility, rifle availability, and enough close-range reserve to take number one. No ranking can replace the rules for your exact hunt or the limits of your own shooting. Confirm the current Alaska regulation. Use a bullet designed for the animal and impact conditions, and keep every shot inside the distance you have verified from field positions. Which cartridge would you trust for a mixed Alaska hunt? Tell us your choice and the exact bullet you would use. And if you want more rankings built on real trade-offs instead of one dramatic number, subscribe for the next Ballistic Ledger 360 breakdown.